Okay, let's have another stab at this. I watched that last video and there's a shadow. I'm turned to the morning sun, and I can hopefully be in frame. The phone is right by my face, so I can't see the screen. So it's not that I'm not checking it, I just can't see. That's why this stuff's free. Actually, even if I did better, I'd still be free. So, this is a nice piece of Georgetown flint. And let's just take a little bit of the thickness off, and then we'll use this punch a little bit earlier than I would. And a leather support. Hopefully this is... I'll try to nap a little slower. I don't really like hammerstoning this Georgetown because it's such a soft shirt. But I've got a pretty soft hammerstone. Oh, darn it. That's all right, we don't probably need that width there anyway. I want to hit here, and I guess if I don't hit there too much, it will work. I've got, see the thickness on the back edge that I trimmed down? This has a risk of, because that's so thin, doing the same thing, so maybe I'll try to take a little bit, or not. That actually worked pretty well. I cut that plane down. We can do like another flake or two, and then we can start punching. Hammerstones don't like isolated platforms that really stick out. What'll happen is that a lot of things can happen, but you don't want to be sticking out. You want to grind that in and grind that facet on that. That's a little too lean. Hammerstone platform needs to be a little steeper. It's really easy to get those facets a little too lean with this Georgetown because it pressure scrunches so easy. See how I overstruck that? With antlers, overstrike leads to little hinges and problems off the edge. A hammerstone will shatter clean. So if the platform is too lean, this is steep, this is lean. If the platform is too lean, I just overstrike the platform. And then the hammerstone catches, it hits, and then it catches more, and it generally cleans it too. So you lose a little bit more width, but you can still keep the contours you want if you just overstrike it a little bit with the soft hammerstone. This hammerstone is grabby soft, so I'm gonna go with this little harder face of this one. Okay, that got really ripply because the hammerstone was harder and my blow was kind of inward. Probably, I think that and the speed is a little too fast, so I think I just need to use a softer one to get smoother. I think after I punch this thick part of the bottom, I'll be able to, at that stage, even though this punch is tiny, I think it can probably handle it. This, I'm trying to turn this edge, but this abrader is too soft, so I can't get rid of that little bump right there. I need that, or else if I hit with a hammerstone, that higher is just going to cause that to shatter. So let's grab the hard abrader. Where's my hard abrader? I don't know where it is. I'll use this one. You gotta be careful. Sometimes you can abrade flakes into the crease of your fingers, the worst spot. You need to be careful about that. See how that did it? Now I've got a nice platform. Forgot where I was here. Oh, it don't matter. Okay. This is a borderline too small a punch, but I'll use it anyway. Probably gonna need my abrader. There it is. This is a little bit harder, and this is really grabby, gritty. And I choose it because as I shape the edge, I can use the sharp areas of this abrader to get in and make the little nicks. So a lot of these small flakes are going to just be contouring. We're pretty even and flat. So you can just start by doing, look at the thick areas. When you're just taking the edges and making them even, you can not drive in, you more down. So just look at the thick areas and then just build it smooth. Pretend like you're going to just make a tool with not too thin an edge, but just one with an even edge. Let me turn because there's a shadow. Some of this little trimming I'm going to do with the floating hand before I get on the leather because it's just going to make it easier. See where my finger is? I don't have to braid because my finger's underneath that edge. And I take little flakes just to bring it up, and then when I've got enough contour, then I can start abrading and building the platforms. This is actually probably a pretty good material to start on because it naps so easy raw. Try to go slower, but this is pretty routine. So like take one there, a little one there, some here. And if our edge gets offset one way or the other, it doesn't matter because it'll just enable us to plane down the other side, although this is probably the thickness That's fine for a lot of stuff. And then I'll just do a quick abrade. Not too much. Okay, see, I can put the punch right here. Trim up a little bit next to where we just did. I mean, I'm just dropping the billet on this stuff. I'm still in a shadow. Me and my shadow. I found this new big abrader the other day down at the creek walk in Rico. That's going to be a good one. Oh, it's a little big. Let me do a tiny one here. Trim over. I'm brushing down to lower that edge. See that little bump right there? If I ground this and then put the punch up there, I would just dent my antler. It's still a little too heavy for this punch. It is a little small punch. I just punch it down a little bit. See that? I lowered that. So this is a nice thickness we want. It's even. And I can just trim, turn over and get one right here. Back grind up. A little bit bigger punch would really eat this up, but let's just continue with this one. I've got my punch in the flint knapping bag. That when I'm out hiking and I bring it, I just jam it into the ground. I need my bag. Oh, forward. There we go. I should have had more. I should have had more support as I was punching that. This edge was up. I should have had that a little bit more down into the leather, and that would have caused that flake to be less like this and a little bit smoother. This is limits to the width of the preforms that you can punch on this leather just because of the size of my leg. It's good to be able to make points with bodies, though. Sometimes I over punch and I'll make a scottsbluff, and then I end up just getting too thin. Just smoothers. Oops, that flake split. That wasn't good. We're gonna have to fix that from here. If you get to where your edges are weird and too thin in spots, Then just do some contouring with the small flakes. I'm just going to do a bunch of trimming here because we got a bunch of width at the tip. There. You have to be locked in. If you don't want to put it against something hard like concrete, or else the punch will kick and you'll get weird vibrations coming back up the shaft. You need it to dampen, soak, and flex, and be just rigid enough, but not too rigid. I'm going to support this on the leather because I just need a little one. If there's a mangled up hard area there, I can't punch that. That would just end in disaster. So I'll just give it a... See how I just cleaned that plain even? Now you can see I need a little one there. I need to trim a little bit there, and then just build contours this way. A little pecking. I'll trim back. Build a little contour. Back grind. Sometimes you do a little punch to create ridges, so you got two. To fix that a little bit, take that high spot. And, you know, a little thin one right here. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to stop on the thinning. There. It seems like a lot of stuff is random. Like if I switch over here, flakes overlap other flakes and build contours. So it seems like random flaking, but it's far from it. It's like looking at someone tighten lug nuts in a star pattern and saying until your dying breath that they're doing it randomly when they're not. That's probably a poor analogy, but as long as all of the work on the finished pattern for the tool and the method is 1, consistent results, 2, creating contours, and 3, not interfering with the trajectory of the plan for switching to the other tool, or in the event where a finished punch pattern is left on something, doesn't affect it. Like I could take a flake here just to do not random, but blending to get to the conditions for the finished work. Then it seems like I'm skipping around, but I only am to an extent after the preform is ordered. Some of the artifact descriptions that says random percussion is very misleading because it's written by people that haven't done a lot of napping. Okay, so we got to just trim, blend over. Little one down that ridge. And another thing is when people describe points in books and says that it's, pressure flaking. That was before everyone started all doing this small indirect percussion. The range of pressure and punch is there's an overlap. And there are a few signatures, but I don't get into it now. These are the opinions that I have based on my use of these tools for, indirect percussion for 30 years, and, pressure flaking for as long. Okay, I want to use leather support, but see that little high spot right there? That was I would have liked that if that was a little less square, and that took out a little too much thickness there. But as I lose width, I'll be able to blend that in. This Georgetown, I haven't worked, actually I worked Georgetown a few days ago, but I haven't been working a lot of it lately. This stuff responds a lot different than the harder Edwards. I'm going to need finger support on the edge on this one because there's that little step there. So I'm not going to put down the leather because unless I were to pad that under the punch. Part of it has to do with where I'm working on the punch. If I was going to get down a little bit lower, I could do that, but this edge is set up better for just a little finger support. Maybe I've got enough thickness to do a scottsbluff, in which case I'm going to need thickness here to do some really nice cross stem planing. Although that flake might have changed there because by the time I come around here, that's going to be this area here and this area here are sort of in conflict right here unless I make it real narrow. That looks like a great platform, and that is actually a decent percussion platform, but it's a little too crowned. I'm sticking out. Let me get a little wedge under there. I don't want this flake to go too deep. Okay. Really backing off on that angle for taking down those rolled steep edges. I need to... This punch is not the best. It's starting to wear. So let's switch to this way. And unfortunately, my shaft is not straight. I wish it was. I need to just get a straighter one. There's no point in straightening this because it's got so many limbs on it and it's kind of bent and it's seasoned up. So I put the punch in where it naturally feels good. and it sets. And then I'll just set the punch in there loose. There we go. That's a good spot. And oops. Tap. And then tap it in. If you wanted to get flexible plastic rod and drill it 1/2 inch and put copper, round copper, like quarter, maybe quarter, a little less, and then I'd hammer it. I would hammer it a little tapered, and I would probably make it a little bent so that you could do trimming and you could turn it. So on some preforms, if you wanted to use the curve a little down, you could work out here on wider bifaces. And when you want to float and trim, it could be up a little bit. It might be, I mean, it would be the easiest way to learn this technique fast, but your edges are going to be so different than what all this work that I'm doing. Then it's not like once you can do that, you can just put the antler in and go. It's going to be learning different edges. So if you want to make points and just enjoy napping that way, then that's what I would do. If you wanted to get into the nitty-gritty and, you know, maybe possibly make stuff a little bit more authentic, then I would just work with this. That's a nice flake because it's just a nice smoother. Didn't cut into the plane deeper, because this is our issue here, is this low area. It's a little too heavy. My edge was a little heavy. I'm gonna have to do a little work on the bottom, and then I'll build this, and then I'll try to clean the long flake to that side. I want short flakes. I don't want to take out too much thickness, so I'm trying to really back off. I'm gonna come in here and use a little length and move this. So when things get a little too abraded, it's just sort of work at a corner. Okay. I went a little deeper, but it's nice. It's a full length stem flake. I do the lateral grind on the platform. Sometimes I'll get a harder flake on thin stuff and give it a finish grind to put a facet on it. That's not necessary on this stage. I need to, I'm wearing a shoulder in that punch. I need to give it a little braid. I made a Marshall yesterday and I did some really aggressive punching. A little hard shirt, so I've got some issues with the divots in there. If you want to make one of these, it might be a good idea to make, use the long tines for a pressure flaker. I see a lot of people make a punch and then they make it real pointy on the end of the tine. The end of the tine likes to flake, and you want to get it rounded and bring it down into the area that's, you know, not punky, but sort of in between the exterior end of the tine and the pith marrow. So maybe use it as a pressure flaker until it warms down and gets dull, then retire it and use it as a punch. Some of these platforms are a little, I should have a more of a punch, but okay, let's even up our edge. Punch down, teeny punch down, then trim. Teeny one there. You can see how the edge needs to be moved and thickened a little bit. And then also right here, a little one. As you're getting a teeny one in. I like just floating on these short contouring flakes. Little bump there. I don't want to set the punch there, so they come right next to it. Space. That was a nice flake. So this is going to be on the finished piece for sure. It's trash day. So. Nice. I didn't want to take too much thickness out there. This is the stage where you can ruin it by taking out too much, or have to switch what you want to make. I knew that bump. See that little high spot right there? Oh, my platform failed. Uh-oh. Machine take some down here, little blenders, and then we'll be. I think some buffalo pressure. I actually probably should use I like the buffalo punch on this Georgetown. Antler can get a little shocky and a little bit crunchy. So I want a little bigger punch than this probably on the Georgetown, and just slow down a little. When I do the shearing, I don't just do it one way on these. I have to look and do a little thickening and turning. Things get even. It's really important to do a nice, even flaking shear on the bottom, and then not mess with it too much after you do your stem flaking. I need a little punch flake right there. I usually do that after I do the trimming and thickening of the edges. I'll do a few more little punch flakes. I hope my camera is not too far in now. We have a little balance issue still here off of this. So I think the best bet is to approach that with pressure. I don't know how the film will turn out, but I'll end this. So main takeaways is if your leather leg pad isn't enough to build it up, and then the support really does well to for the longer flakes that are thinner, because the leather is supporting it. Hopefully that was more in frame. That wasn't the best demonstration of the... probably should have started with a little bit bigger punch than this on the preform, and then punch down to this. Maybe we can do. With that little ridge right here, maybe I can get in and do just a little buffalo. You can take thinner flakes with wood and with buffalo horn. That's a little heavy platform, but we got some of that edge thickness. That's what I'm talking about. I should have. That would have been a different video if we used this. Cody. This buffalo punch to buffalo pressure screams Cody complex. Oh, the edges get a little heavy. It's more difficult. Let's just do that with the big buffalo pressure flake. These really helped though, and this little one helped. Okay, let's shut this down, and then where's my? I've got buffalo horn in here. Okay, buffalo horn. See the layers? Layer, layer, layer. So don't pressure flake like this. Otherwise, you'll just peel all day. Go perpendicular to the hairs. Perpendicular to the hairs, and when you get square, take the end down just a little bit. And I'm gonna have to use this. I really need a bigger one in here for this, but I'm gonna have to use the hand horn to take the thick areas down, because within a range, this is awesome for finishing. But if you try to use it on too heavy of a platform, it'll dent it out. Okay, part one over. If that even recorded.